Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Bott,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
We have some minutes to approve from our May 28, 2013 work session. I move we approve those minutes.
Second.
Lush,
Yes.
Williams,
Abstain?
Miller,
Yes.
Bott,
Abstain as I was absent.
Nichols,
Yes.
Okay, and we also have some minutes from our May 28, 2013 regular session. Move we approve those minutes.
Second.
Lush,
Yes.
Williams,
Abstain?
Miller,
Yes.
Bott,
Abstain as I was absent.
Nichols,
Yes.
Okay, under new business this evening, we have two resolutions. The first, Bill Number 2013-35, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an option to renew a contract with Brake Brothers for the brush collection site. This is up for reading and passage. Bruce?
Yes, Your Honor, this is the third year of the contract for managing the yard waste and brush collection site. To cover the details, I will turn to Kenzie Russell.
We went through this in fair detail at the work session at the last meeting. The contract does reflect the changes that were discussed and includes putting the free 1 cubic yard free mulch per resident back into the contract. It does prohibit the pallets and any other construction waste to be collected, and otherwise I think reflects what we had discussed in terms of the increased cost to the city for the contract, the alternate that we had looked at there. And this has been presented to Brake Brothers. They've had the opportunity to review it. It does meet their agreement. Both of the principals for Brake Brothers were unable to be here this evening. They did talk to me about it and expressed their concern about not being able to be present, but since we had discussed it in some detail, I told them we proceed with presenting it to the council. So, any questions?
I wasn't here for the work session, but I had talked to Roger. So I have a couple of things. First of all, the reason I was just walking in the door was because I went out there before I came here. And my understanding is we had this conversation like 3 weeks ago with them. And there's still pallets piled high, and there's still junk everywhere out there. So in my eyes, I'm looking at it going, do they not really care? I mean, if you've had 3 weeks and you know the problems that we have for the city that we've addressed, and you haven't fixed any of it.
We have been in negotiations with them for 3 to 4 weeks on this new contract. Their intent, as I understand it, is to grind those pallets, get rid of them. They recognize that they're going to have to get rid of them during the negotiation process. Of course, they'll have to bring in their equipment to do that, to grind it. But they do recognize that those will have to disappear.
Is there a time frame on that if they get this?
We did not put a specific time frame in the contract. We do require in the contract that they grind a minimum of twice a year to grind up the brush and all on site.
Okay, then the second thing I have is I heard that we had the discussion about the city taking it back and you about had a heart attack because of personnel issues. I talked to a lot of people and I'm trying to understand where the personnel issues comes up, because for years what was done out there was basically you pulled in and somebody was in the shop and you waved you on or whatever, and every once in a while you'd have somebody have to go out there and fill you up. And now we act like we have to have this full-time body out there if the city was to do it. So what's the difference from before to now in
During
that
the time
situation?
that the city was running that, we had 9 people plus a part-timer in the street department. We currently have 7. And there is not somebody out at the shop pretty much all day long to be able to monitor that. And we have worked hard for security and safety reasons to separate the public traffic from the maintenance traffic, and so the entrance being off of Kentucky is no longer one that would be easily monitored from the shop either. So to take it on would feel like it would require additional staffing.
And my last comment I'm going to say is, I understand that we want to charge a quarter, basically, is that right, to the bills, to the sewer bills?
Basically, on our sanitation rate, the adjustment in the contract would require a quarter adjustment in our sanitation rate. As we discussed in the study session, we would not look at a rate adjustment this year because we just had a rate adjustment. And if we would go into the next spring, our contract that we worked through with Dane's Waste Disposal actually goes down that first year a quarter. So they would be offset. So I really don't see a full quarter adjustment in the rate going into 2014.
As a citizen, what I would look at is I would say, you told me that I'm saving a quarter, so now you're charging me a quarter. I mean, the average citizen doesn't care about rate adjustments or whatever. They know they were told they were going to save a quarter, and now they're not going to save a quarter. The reason we're in this position is because the city dropped the ball and didn't get this bid, correct?
Correct. We did
And
not
in my-
rebid the option.
Yep. My proposal is to say, since we dropped the ball, then we should figure out how to find the money out of our own pockets in the city, rather than charge our sanitary sewer people.
I believe that's what we're doing this
Right.
year.
This
and
year.
Then, this is the last year of this contract, so we will be rebidding it next winter.
But you're saying at the beginning of the year, we're gonna readjust, right?
We would look at, we would.
Based
look at
based on this contract, right here. So we'd have, what, 9 months of
It would
a quarter
be-
adjustment?
The new rate adjustment, again, you have to take everything into consideration, all of our other contracts, not only with Danes, the handy shop or brush grinding contract, changes in cost of health, dental, all those, insurance. The next rate adjustment would take place in April of 2014. And if the person were to ask me now what that would be, I would say that those quarters, 25 cents, offset each other. We have to look at all the other costs to see if there is an actual total rate increase or not.
So we're talking, but that rate increase would go for a full year, correct? Till the next, whatever you set in April next year would go forward for the whole next year, based on these numbers, correct? And so I propose, that we promise the citizens they would save some money because they've been jacked over on the sewer bill every year. They've had an increase. People are not happy about it. And I understand you're saying we're offsetting. I understand that. But we're talking about a difference of $17,000, right? Between what was originally budgeted, $13. So I would propose that the city figure a way to do that without charging the citizens. And then we can rebid it, and then we can add it in when we have a fair bid, and we can have a better discussion, because this whole thing is kind of rushed. Because it came out of nowhere, because we didn't follow through. We dropped the ball.
Just to make sure we're clear, there's no rate adjustment from now.
I understand.
We'll use our reserves for that.
And I suppose it would be possible that the new bid or a new contract comes in, let's say at the middle of March or whatever, it's potentially, we may not have to do that increase at all.
Right, if the bid came in lower than what's.
Yeah,
currently proposed,
so we may
that's
not even
potential.
see that.
Right.
Or it could be a lot higher.
That's true, very
Well,
true.
we wouldn't have the bid in March, though, would we?
The bid would be done first part of the year. The contract would, this contract runs to the 1st of May, and so probably would be in the March timeframe that we would be bringing a renewal or a new contract to the council. Probably would be around the end of March. And that timing would be so that any rate adjustment that needed to be done in April could be done.
So the 17,000 additional cost in this contract,
It's 13,000 additional.
13,000, so they were already charging us 17,000?
Yes.
Okay. The citizens are not picking up any of that 13,000 on their sewer bills?
Correct.
Okay. We're eating that 13,000.
This is a clarification. In the sanitation fund, we have $12,900 we call for project reserve. So we're going to use that project reserve so that we do not have to have an adjustment this time.
So any adjustment next year will be based on a new contract, not this one.
But they have no idea when they'll be able to ground the pallets.
I do not know what the timing on that might be. I certainly can try to get that pegged down and get a firm schedule for you and get that information out. But at this point, we haven't had that conversation.
Okay.
And they won't be running a business out of there, will they?
Well, in the sense that they are a business, they do retail sales of the mulch, and they also have been exploring avenues for wholesale sale of mulch to dispose of product after it's ground.
But what I mean is they're just going to take what our citizens give them. We're not bringing anything else from anybody. We're not going out and finding stuff. Because that's how we got in this pallet mess, is because they were going to grind it up.
We're not going out and soliciting brush, but we do get brush from commercial haulers and from county residents. Other folks besides just citizens do haul brush material in. But the new contract specifically prohibits pallets or construction waste. Somebody's pile of 2x4s or whatever.
Anything else? Thank you, Kenzie. I move for reading of bill number 2013-35.
Second.
Flash,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Gott,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Bill number 2013-35, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an option to renew contract with Brake Brothers for the brush collection site. Whereas the city of Mexico has a current contract with Brake Brothers for the operation of the brush collection site, and whereas there is significant changes in the scope and cost of the contract that have been negotiated for renewal. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Mexico, Missouri as follows. Section 1, the city manager is hereby authorized to execute an option to renew a contract with Brake Brothers for the brush collection site on behalf of the City of Mexico. Copy of the contract is attached as Exhibit A. Section 2, this resolution shall be in full force and effect from and after the time of its passage. I move for passage of Bill number 2013-35.
Second.
Flash,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Gott,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Next, we have resolution, bill number 2013-36, resolution authorizing the city manager to sign change order number 2 with Willis Brothers Incorporated for the West Liberty Sewer Project. This is up for reading and passage. Bruce?
Yes, Your Honor. We issued a contract to do a sanitary sewer repair on the West Liberty Street sewer. In the process of doing that work, it was discovered that there were more work that needed to be done, and to cover the details of the change order, again, we'll turn to Kenzie Russell.
This is the sewer line that runs basically from Muldrow up to Missouri Street, the section of line that we're talking about. There was a 6-inch sewer line with an 8-inch line laid on top of it. The original contract was for relocating the connections that were on the 6 to the 8, and then abandoning the 6-inch and lining the 8-inch pipe. We found after the construction really got going that the two parallel pipes, the 6-inch pipe actually extends farther up the street than we previously had knowledge of, and that was the result of getting a manhole cleaned out at the bottom. There are two additional laterals, service lines that are connected to the 6-inch up there, and there was a spot repair on the 8-inch that needed to be made. And so we have issued an administrative change order to do the spot repair. It was $2,500 for that. And then this change order is for the additional pavement removal and replacement and the changing of those service lines from the 6 to the 8 so that we can abandon the 6. The 6 is in such poor condition we couldn't get our camera all the way through it. You can actually see portions of the 8-inch pipe from the 6 laying above it, and we also have found and worked with Missouri American to repair a water leak on their raw water line from one of the wells over there that was essentially flooding those two lines. And so we've eliminated that issue and now trying to get that segment of line back in serviceable condition. And so this change order is for the additional segment that was previously not known about and found, to be able to abandon that 6 and get the service connections taken care of so everybody still has sanitary sewer service.
Kenzie, does the $43,572 prior to this change order, does that reflect the $2,500 already included?
Yes, that includes it.
How many connections are we talking about originally, and how many more did they find?
I believe that we found, I believe, 2 additional connections to be made. We originally had 4 to make. That has been reduced to 3. We'll actually end up with a savings on our final change order because the public housing that we thought had 2 connections coming out, they actually come out tie together and only make 1 connection, and we were able to relocate that as is. So we have saved 1 connection to date, but we don't know what we might find as we get into the others either, so I'm a little hesitant to say how much we might save. But
Is there any, what budget impacts will this have?
this is coming out of the wastewater operational budgets. We have an item for collection system repairs that we're using for this. It's not the same line item that we do the spot repairs with under Randy May's contract, but it's a capital outlay line item, and this is going to pretty much eat up all of that line, but we had pretty much all of that in place.
Has there been some sewer issues in this particular part of town that will be alleviated because of this fix?
Yes. I can't remember the man's name, had a house over there, the basement backup actually is what alerted us to the situation initially. He had replaced a part of his service line, was still experiencing backups. We kept cleaning the line, which was the 8-inch, not knowing that there was a 6-inch underneath it that he was connected to. And when we finally discovered that, found it full of mud and gravel, and we were able to clean, actually we cleaned it several times to maintain it, keep it open while this was being designed and bid and brought forth. But it will certainly solve his problem, and I think some of the others that are on that 6-inch line will certainly be better off. But then we also have eliminated the water line leak, which was coming in, and with the lining of the pipe, we'll have a good pipe that in that area, as you may or may not know, with the water, there's the potable water main, there's 2 raw water lines, plus there's a sump pump that pumps water out into the gutter there pretty regularly, that runs down Liberty Street too. So there's a fair amount of water saturation in the ground, and by getting a good sealed pipe back in, we should eliminate some I&I, as well as helping with problems that residents were having.
So you roughly did 160 feet of pipe.
I don't recall the exact footage of the pipe. Steve, we have Jim lists here the numbers of the new that is going in. There's 158 feet of 4-inch. That's the private lines. And the 2 spot repairs that we're making, one under the regular and one under the change order, will be 10 or 12 foot of pipe each. And then we're slip lining. I don't remember what it is between the 2 manholes there. I was thinking it was close to 300 feet that we were slip lining.
You get a chance to get back to tell how many feet that
Sure.
was. I was trying to get a ballpark figure because I was asked by a couple of people, why don't Mexico just replace all the sewer lines? So I was trying to give them an approximate cost of that.
I can probably give you an estimate of that based on what Harner and Schifrin put together for this south area that we've been looking at.
It'd be less than national debt, wouldn't it?
Out of their study, it would be, it's, if I remember correctly, the estimate for the repairs that they recommended, which wouldn't be replacing all of the pipe, was still in the $10 million range. So.
Yeah.
And that's just 40% of the system.
And it would be several budget years.
Yes.
That's all I've got.
Any other questions?
I move for reading of bill number 2013-36.
Second.
Lesh,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Bond,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Bill number 2013-36, a resolution authorizing the city manager to sign change order number 2 with Willis Brothers Incorporated for the West Liberty Sewer Project. Whereas the City of Mexico entered into a contract with Willis Brothers for the repair of a segment of a sewer line on West Liberty Street, west of Muldrow, and whereas change order number 2 with Willis Brothers Incorporated will adjust contract quantities for 2 additional service laterals that need to be moved from the 6-inch line to the 8-inch line, along with the associated pavement removal and replacement. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Mexico, Missouri as follows. Section 1, the city manager is hereby authorized to sign change order number 2 to the West Liberty Sewer Project contract on behalf of the City of Mexico with Willis Brothers Incorporated to add $14,294 to the contract amount. Section 2, this resolution shall be in full force and effect from and after the time of its passage. I move for passage of Bill number 2013-36.
Second.
Nash,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Bott,
Yes.
Nichols.
Under new business ordinance this evening, we have two. First, Bill number 2013-37, an ordinance accepting the right-of-way deed from the County of Audrain for ACR 820 project number TSCP 4400-306. This is up for two readings by title only and passage. Bruce?
Yes, Your Honor, this is also known as Commerce Road, as it extends to the Plant Science Center. Council, if you remember that we did a portion of that road as far as to the Plant Science Center with paving. There were grant funds still available to do some more work, and in order to do that work, we've got some additional paperwork to do. So again, I will turn to Kenzie Russell to identify the ordinance that we're working on and acquiring the right-of-way from the county to make this project happen.
Bruce identified the project correctly. This is the Phase 2, if you will, or the extension of approximately 500 feet of Commerce Road paving that will go in front of the Plant Science Center and extend a little bit east there. It's the balance of the funds that were obtained that the initial paving project was done. MoDOT basically set this up as an entirely new and separate project, and so we've had to go through each step of the project, which includes obtaining the right-of-way, a necessary step under any circumstances. That deed has been obtained from the county commission, and this just is an ordinance simply asking the council to accept it. We will then record it and be able to certify the right-of-way to MoDOT. The next step in the process will be to get our plan specifications and engineer's estimate approved by MoDOT and authorization to bid the project. Those plans and specifications have been completed by the consultant, and as soon as we get through this step, we'll be moving ahead then with the rest of the project.
How far down do we all own all the way to the intersection down there now?
We do not own all the way to the intersection. When the 52 acres was purchased, that took us down. If you have been down there, there's a farmhouse there at the corner, and it takes us down to their property line. There's a fence line and a small pond that's on their side of that, so it does not quite go to the intersection.
So we're gonna pave all of it?
We're not going to pave all that far.
Okay.
We're just going 500 feet with these funds, but we have annexed all the way down across the frontage of the 52 acres, and we're currently maintaining all of that, grading and graveling, all of that with our forces now.
Any questions?
I make a motion, I read bill number 2013-37 by title only.
I'll second you reading that.
Nash,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Bott,
Yes.
Nichols.
Yes. Bill number 2013-37, ordinance accepting the right-of-way deed from the County of Audrain for Audrain County Road 820 project number TSCP 4400-306. Move for second reading, bill number 2013-37.
Second.
Nash,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Bott,
Yes.
Nichols.
Yes. Bill number 2013-37, ordinance accepting the right-of-way deed from the County of Audrain for Audrain County Road 820 project number TSCP 4400-306. I move for passage of bill number 2013-37.
Second.
Nash,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Bott,
Yes.
Nichols.
Yes.
The next ordinance that we have is Bill number 2013-38, an ordinance amending Chapter 6, Article 15, Sidewalk Cafes, Section 6-458, identification and insurance requirements of the Code of the City of Mexico. This is up for 2 readings by title only and passage. Bruce?
Yes, Your Honor, this is a clarification ordinance. Prior to this ordinance being considered, we had in the previous code that with reference sidewalks, that the licensee shall provide a certificate of insurance, but we didn't identify in that what those amounts were. And so therefore, to this point, we've been just using what, identifying the general limits that we've had on everything else, but we thought it was important to identify those and cover those. So I will turn to Roger Haynes to cover the general liabilities that we've laid out.
I want to thank Kinsey for some podium time. Council did pass an ordinance 4202 in July 2011 permitting licensing of sidewalk cafes. Section 6-458 of Chapter 6 pertains to the indemnification and insurance requirements for such sidewalk cafes, but did not specifically outline insurance requirements. This agenda item would amend the current code to outline the insurance requirements for sidewalk cafes as follows. Prior to issuing a sidewalk cafe license by the City of Mexico's city clerk, the licensee shall procure and submit to the city a certificate of insurance providing coverage for injuries to persons and/or property damage as may arise from the operation of the sidewalk cafe. Secondly, the city shall be named as additional insured. The insurance company utilized shall be approved by the city manager. Insurance shall cover the full term of the licensing permit, period, and general liability minimum limits shall be $1 million bodily injury or property damage per occurrence and $2 million general aggregate limit. Staff recommends that council proceed with 2 readings by title only and passage of the attached ordinance amending Chapter 6, Article 15, Sidewalk Cafes. The ordinance has been posted the required length of time, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Do you know?
Go ahead.
Do you know? Just have you talked to anybody about the cost? What this will cost the owners?
I'm not certain as far as the premium cost. I did inquire as to an estimate of increasing from the $1 million limit and adding it to a $2 million aggregate, and that premium adjustment was about $20 to $30. $1 million coverage is, I guess, my own personal experience where I've bought coverage for myself. It's about $350 on top of my regular homeowner's insurance. So I don't know if that's a good way to give you a number, but it's not outrageous.
If the ones that are doing sidewalk cafe, they know this is coming forward tonight,
Yes.
and they haven't opposed. They had no problems with it.
No,
Okay.
our current sidewalk cafe in Wina, Washington has met these requirements in the past.
Are they still the only ones that have done it so far?
So far. Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I move for first reading of bill number 2013-38 by title only.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lesh,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Bott,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Bill number 2013-38, an ordinance amending Chapter 6, Article 15, Sidewalk Cafes, Section 6-458, indemnification and insurance requirements of the Code of the City of Mexico. I would move for second reading by title only.
Second.
Lesh,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Bott,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Bill number 2013-38, an ordinance amending Chapter 6, Article 15, Sidewalk Cafes, Section 6-458, indemnification and insurance requirements of the Code of the City of Mexico. I move for passage of Bill number 2013-38.
Lesh,
Yes.
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Bott,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Under other business this evening, we have the claims.
Move we pay the bills.
Second.
Lash,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Bott,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
And then we move to council comments. Councilman Botts.
I don't believe I have anything this evening.
Councilman Williams.
It was a busy week for Mexico last week. We had Miss Missouri pageant. Always a pleasure to meet all the people that come into town, and even some of them come in. And I guess when you work in public, they're like, "Oh yeah, we remember you, Chris, from last year and the year before." Like, okay, but I don't remember you. Sorry, I don't know. So that's great. And then we had the truck and tractor pool, and those events are very. You know, some people question whether we do these things or not, but I can tell you from the business standpoint, it draws a lot of people into town, and then they bring their money with them. And so the primary revenue for the city is sales tax. So if they're spending their money here, that's a good thing. Second thing I want to address is I, like many other people, I'm sure some of the people out here are very frustrated with the sewer system. And our bills just keep going higher and higher and higher. I actually was going through one of my files down in my basement I put away, and I pulled out an old sewer bill from about 4 years ago, and I was like stunned to just about how much it's gone up. And I can tell you, I mean, I know that Kinsey's trying to do everything he can. We're on a limited budget, and this really just goes back to years of neglect is what it goes down to. I mean, people didn't take care. I mean, Kinsey doesn't even know where some of these lines are because the people back then, they just, whatever. And we're not alone. A lot of cities are in trouble with this same situation. So I feel your frustrations, and I apologize that we're in this situation. So, and that's all I have.
Mayor Pro Tem Nichols.
Glad that they accept the sewer problems are a bad thing. And I found myself cleaning out basement with the sewer in it also, so I can not only know about your problems, I can feel your problems. So they are real.
Yeah, sure.
Bruce?
In front of you is a memo detailing, at the last council meeting, you had a resident appear before you reference some sewer issues on Providence Street, and the memo identifies the activity that has taken place in that area in reference to repairs to reduce the infiltration into the sanitary there. And as you will note, there was a major issue found on a private line that's being addressed right now that was direct inflow into the system, and so I'm sure that added considerable amount of water to his problem that's being addressed as we speak. So, but anyway, that report's there for you. Go ahead.
Has someone contacted Randy and followed up with this information?
Yes, he is aware of what was found there on his neighbor, and we've shared that with him. Don't know that he is aware of the additional data and mapping effort that we're embarking on, but the immediate problem there that was just 2 houses up from him, he's aware of that.
Okay. Probably at some point when you get a little further along, you might want to give him an update since he took the time to come here and address that issue. So.
Sure.
Okay, next we have public comments. So I understand there's some individuals here that would like to give us some comments this evening. So if you would step forward and give your name and address. And I don't know if you plan on talking for 3 hours, but we do have a 3-minute limit. So try to keep it.
I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, just try to keep it as close as
If
possible.
I run out of time, I'll let some of the other cohorts
Okay.
take over. How about that?
Thank you.
I'm Mary Soba. I live over on 9 Terrace Circle, and we've had a water problem going on for at least over 2 years. I've been there 3.5 years. I know it was not there when I moved in, but it's been there at least 2 years since then. We have been in contact with the water company, we have been in contact with the city, but this problem still exists. It is not solved. Last summer, some work was done, and some water was rerouted, hoping that that would move it from one side of the street to the other side of the street. And it did for about 3 weeks, and then it's back on both sides of the street now. So we still have a problem, and, you know, we've tried, you know, I know things are being done, but the fact is it's still there. You know, it is a health hazard. There is gray moss, green moss on both sides of the street. It's tearing up the driveways. I had somebody pull in my driveway, hit bottom. I know some of the other residents have had people slip on that moss. There's little kids running around. Of course, they're barefoot in the summertime in that nasty stuff. So there's an issue going on that we'd like to get solved somehow. We also have some houses that have been sold. Well, you know, can imagine what it's doing to the property values on that street. So we have some issues. I don't know that we have solutions for it. I know they flagged my yard back in February. The water company has verified there's no leak on my side, but that's as far as it's been. There's been a lot of water this spring, so we know that. But there's some issues going on. I don't know what it's going to take to fix it. We do sit lower, so we get runoff. We do know there's one house or maybe multiple houses that are pumping from water leak or natural springs and so forth, but something needs to be done. There's 8 houses on the cul-de-sac, so it's not one person, it's not 2 people. There's a lot of houses being affected, and there's several folks here. They're all facing the similar situation, and we wanted to bring it to the attention. After 2 years, that's quite a while, you know, that they can't get it solved. So we wanted to bring it to the council, make sure you all were aware of what's going on, and hopefully some action can be taken.
Would you be willing to answer a couple questions?
Sure.
Is this a water, this is not a sewer issue? Is that correct?
It's a water issue,
Water
as far
issue.
as we know. Missouri American Water tested the water twice in front of my house. Both times they verified there's no chlorine in the water, which it may be able to evaporate. I don't know the chemistry behind that, but it's clean water.
Clean water, okay.
Where, I mean, is it coming down the street?
Yes.
Yes. 24/7. We have a constant stream in front of our house.
It never dries out.
Never quits.
It can be 90 degrees and you've got a full water running constantly, 24/7.
Is that the house that's just east of your house?
Yes.
Have you been, I mean, do we know
No,
where it's,
two doors down. It's 2 doors down, but it's to the west.
do you, can you
I
tell
I
me?
mean, I mean to the west, yes.
Yes, yes.
So you know where it's, the house is coming from? Where it's
Oh,
coming
yes.
from?
Oh, there's no doubt about it.
And it's coming out of the ground or
Some
Pump.
some pump?
And Missouri American Water has looked into this, and they can't get a whole,
When they were out earlier this spring, when they were testing the water in front of my house, I thought maybe I had a leak because it did dry up when they rerouted it to the other side of the street. My side, south side, dried up for about 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden, here comes water again. I was like, great. And so I had it tested. I called Missouri American Water thinking I had a leak at that point, and they've been out twice and tested it, and they think it's coming under the street up through the asphalt is what they think is happening. It's that heavy all the time. Whether it is, I don't know.
who routed it to the other side?
Was it the property owner?
It was the property owner after a lot of complaining was done. I've lived the longest on the street, and I've been 40 years, and I never had this issue. The property owner redid the basement, put in double sump pumps, and instead of running it over their driveway, they decided to run it around the other way, which 3 years ago, our street was dug up in front of our property thinking there was a leak, and it wasn't. The leak was out in the middle of the street, and the city had to patch up, and I have no curb, and we're low, so the water would actually sit, and we had slime and mosquitoes. And I just kept saying, something's gotta be done, something's gotta be done, and the property owner finally decided, okay, they would run it across their driveway. Well, it got the issue off of the property to the left of me and my property, but then in 3 weeks, like she said, it's sitting in front of her property, and my property is dry except for extensive rain, which comes off that back and it just gushes. And it still sits and dries, because I don't have any curves anymore. But now it's on their side, and they're experiencing the issues that we had last year. It's just nasty, and all the tree stuff. And we've had a couple of elderly people almost fall, thank goodness they didn't fall. And it's just really, people park on the street to come visit you, they step out, they're stepping in water. It's always there. It's never dry.
Approximately when did this start? 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
3 years ago.
3 years ago. And we don't know what the event was that got it started.
The
We have
property
guesses, but we
decided
don't
to
sure.
put in double sump pumps, redid a basement.
So there was some building going on that changed something.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, we're not trying to put blame anywhere, but all of a sudden, this issue comes when we didn't have this issue.
Has the, I'm going to ask the city a question. Has the city investigated this or looked into it at all at this point?
Yes.
Yes, we have. The initial situation down at the west end of cul-de-sac, and it's foundation drains, the groundwater, if you will, that collects in sump pumps being pumped out, that is then running down the curb line. Property owner did reroute the discharge so that it ran down the north gutter line of Terrace Circle rather than the south. The situation at Ms. Soba's was brought to our attention back in February, and we don't know whether the water from the north gutter line is migrating under the street through a utility trench, or whether there may be some water leak in the main, or just what the source of that water can be. Of course, we've had a wet spring, and trying to track down a source during the wet spring hasn't been feasible to do at this point.
What was it during the drought last year? Did it continue to run?
Yes, all the time.
Oh, there's something else. There's broken water or something out there.
Spring, maybe? Is there
Yeah,
spring
even
out
a
there?
drought, a
It's
spring
spring.
wouldn't run.
Which I'd actually thought when Byron hadn't mentioned it anymore, I thought it had taken care of itself.
Well, what it did was it took it off of a couple of our properties on our side, but it really now has put it on the other side. And the end of the driveways are just deteriorating. The issue is too, the storm drain itself is at the very end of the street on their side. And so it takes forever to get down there. And when it was on our side, we don't have a storm drain. We have what you had to go around the post and then go down and under the street to go to MMA Lake. And that, we just had it sitting. Even though it was running, you still had water sitting constantly. And it was taking soil from the grass and taking, your everything. So you had all this gunk constantly. And Bruce, of course, he had the street people sweeper come, which is very helpful to get all that to help it flow a little better. But then when the neighbor finally decided to reroute it to go in the storm drain way down at the end of the street, and they put in double sump pumps, you got more water, and these people constantly now have what we had before. If there was some way the city could address putting a storm drain down by the property or something, then our street would be able to dry up, and the driveways could dry up. It's just nasty and slimy. It's a
I-
mess.
My question would be to Kinsey, who's talking. Kenzie. They're discharging it into the street?
To the gutter line of the street, yes. That's pretty common all over town.
Except most of those houses don't have gutters. There is no gutter.
But I thought when we had the discussions about the storm thing, they're supposed to be discharging that into ground,
That-
not into
for-
street.
For anything new going in, that's true, but there's quite a number of existing situations that do discharge in the
But
street.
if you remodel, isn't that new construction? Even though it's an older home and you
It
remodel?
happened before we passed our stormwater ordinance that prohibits it. The remodeling happened prior to.
So he's totally against routing it into his property somewhere. Have we asked him? I mean, it seems like a
The
feasible
way-
solution.
The way the property lies, Chris, if they discharged into, say, their front yard, it's such a small front yard, it'd be running over the curb and probably going both ways around the cul-de-sac as it is.
Wow, that much water is coming out of there.
It's my,
Wow.
A lot.
A lot.
Please drive down on
Yeah.
First Circle and take a look.
Yeah, take a look.
it's my opinion, and it's not verified from geotechnical drilling or anything, but in looking at the subdivision plan and at some early aerial photos, the end of the cul-de-sac is built where an old creek bed was. That creek was redirected, rechanneled at the time the subdivision put in. And I believe that when the remodeling and additions put on this house, they probably got into the gravel of that creek bed, and they're essentially pumping the underground flow through those old gravel beds. It is what I suspect is happening.
Wow. What's your take on where the water's coming from, though?
Well, it's just
The
charge to
spring,
the
or?
ground. It's just the groundwater recharge. The MMA lake, if you look at the level of that lake, it's, the groundwater level there at the east end of the street is probably only 3 feet, 3.5 feet or so below street level, anyway.
Oh, I'm getting a picture now. This is the property that sits right across from the MMA, right? Like,
The street runs west from MMA,
oh yeah, I got you now. And part of your problem too is it comes down that creek bed. It's still, when it rains and stuff, there's water, because my house sits up the road on Jackson. And my backyard is a river, literally, because we're getting not only from the houses up there, but the street over. Somehow they have got theirs where it's routed, and they actually have ditches. And it comes down and runs back there, and it goes right into y'all's. Because I was always wondering, where is all that water going?
Well, that water doesn't go to that problem. There's another ditch where that goes, I think, that's behind the north side of the houses on Jackson. There's another
Okay.
ditch back there. Isn't that the one?
Yeah.
That's where the one you're,
Yeah,
I think, that's the one you're talking
thinking
about.
of, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's a different set of water.
That's a different water.
This is water, it can be 90 degrees and we haven't had rain for 4 weeks or a month, and they've got water flowing 24/7 constantly.
It never stops.
Over their driveway, constant.
I've had up to 2 feet of ice in front of my driveway.
So do we have a solution, or do we need to?
Well, no, we don't have a solution as such. One of the things we wanted to try to do when things dried up enough was to just dig down behind the curb at Ms. Zoba's and see if we could determine whether the water was coming through a utility trench, or because it does surface on that south side there in the gutter line from somewhere, and see if we can determine where it was coming from, if it is in fact coming under the street from the sump pump, or if there is another source that it might be coming from.
Did somebody mention spring? I think
Well,
somebody
they-
mentioned the word spring.
That certainly is a possibility.
Your
Right.
house is built on a spring, my house is built on a spring.
That's, the springs are kinda hard to shut off.
And there has been some water leaks in the area, and they've repaired some of those, but we're still not sure they have them all either, so.
Yeah,
There is a history back 2010 or so of at least 3 water leaks that we are aware of that were repaired.
I'd be really guessing that it would be a water leak in the area somewhere coming from Missouri American Water, but that's just pure conjecture on my
But
part.
that doesn't solve their issue. If the water leak solves their issue still won't be solved. They'll still have that water running in front 24/7 from the other property's sump pump that's pouring constantly
Yeah.
out to the street.
Yeah, I was out there, it looks like a water hose. You're up at their driveway, it looks like they've got a water hose on, it just running down the driveway right down the street.
But maybe the water leak is causing their sump pump to run. That's what I'm saying.
It could be.
You're basically gonna have to find out where the leak's coming from before you do anything with it.
Right,
Well, and that could be half
Yeah.
a block west.
sure,
someplace.
sure.
Is it an option to, if it's determined that it's not a leak, it is groundwater that's nothing you can do about it, is there an option to locate a stormwater drain in front of that property where the water is continually coming out?
And an inlet and a pipe could be put in, it would have to run the entire block to get to where it could discharge. It would be, there'd be a cost involved.
Something as simple as, it says like a garden hose, but it's no use trying to second guess what we should do. Let's just find out what their problem's coming from, and then we'll go from there.
A number of people have looked at the west property and what the situation is there. I don't think anybody has a good idea of really where the water may be sourced, but.
We've even
we-
taken a
we
sample out of the
obviously-
sump pit to find out if it's got water in it, and it didn't show.
That property owner is obviously trying to protect their property from the
Yeah.
water.
Is the property on the same side as the current drain?
It's at the end of the cul-de-sac, west
Where's the problem?
end of the cul-de-sac.
And it runs back this way
And it
then?
runs back to the east.
It runs towards the academy.
But, okay, so just to, from hearing these ladies here, would it be an option, maybe we could look at extending the pipe over, running under their property? Just, I mean, it seems like a lot cheaper option if the option
The
is,
only place to take the pipe is the entire block to the east. Discharge. To get it to discharge.
The volume of water is pretty high. You've got some pictures when the sump pumps run, there's, I think, a 4-inch pipe, and it's full.
It's just, we took pictures, I mean, it's just like a river.
Okay, are there any other comments? I think the city will see what else they can find. I'm sure we need to find out the source of the water before we can do a project.
does the city have some of your names so they can get in contact with you?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We've been in their houses. We've been out and sat down with them, tried looking at all this.
Good, good.
Okay, any other public comments? Okay. Then I move we adjourn into executive session pursuant to the revised statutes of Missouri 610.021 litigation and 2 real estate.
Second.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.